So My Hero Academia Chapter 386 is finally out, and with it comes the thrilling aftermath of All For One's merciless onslaught of the heroes. There's twists, turns, and a fated reunion that will blow your mind. Horikoshi is cooking. And so, without further ado, let's jump right into My Hero Academia Chapter 386 titled, I Am Here. This chapter opens up back at the Heroes Control Center, where we are informed that not only have several of the UA civilians' blocks started moving again, but All For One is rocketing his way towards Shigaraki, having already made it past Aido City. With this knowledge in hand, Detective Suguchi desperately calls out for any nearby heroes to try and provide backup and intercept the Flying Titan. Unfortunately, these pleas for assistance are met unanswered, as all the remaining heroes already have their hands full and are preoccupied with the war. Plus, let's be real here, after what All For One did to an army of S-class heroes, who in their right mind would even attempt to stop him? It's basically instant death. And to make matters even worse, moments following Suguchi's plea for help, another report comes into HQ, this one about Dabi. In hearing this report is about Dabi, Suguchi initially assumes that Endeavor has finally been beaten by his son. But, as it turns out, it's much worse. As according to the police's readings on the heat signature of Dabi's flames and body, they estimate that the villain will explode in 10 minutes, sending a massive destructive heatwave blast from his body, incinerating everything within a 5-kilometer radius. Basically, ever since Dabi got back up after initially being beaten by Shoto, his body has not stopped increasing and concentrating heat. And within 10 minutes, this heat will exceed his body's limitation, destroying his body and causing the heat to explode out of him in one gigantic blast. Now, while this may seem like a semi-good thing, with the only real casualty of this being Endeavor, a sacrifice I'm sure he would be willing to make, as it turns out, some of the underground shelters that have started moving again are now actually close to Gunga, meaning that there are numerous blocks chock full of civilians that are now within Dabi's blast zone radius, one of which containing the entire Todoroki family. As immediately after we get this information, the story briefly cuts back to their collapsing block, where we see the hero gunhead guiding all of the civilians to the emergency exit. Following this, back in the control center, another report comes in stating that All For One has started moving even faster, and now he is in range of Shigaraki to use his goo teleportation quirk. With absolutely everything going wrong and all of the police members in utter panic, Suguchi desperately calls out for reinforcements once again, to which, once again, no one responds. No one except for one voice. But before we learn who responded to the call for help, the story cuts back over to Kamino, where we see both Ida and Shoto exhausted from their previous fight, attempting to regain their composure. Shoto, still panting from his phosphor attack, announces that he can't stop fighting while there is still a chance All For One may get to Midoriya. But Ida, worrying about his friend, questions Shoto, asking if he's still okay mentally after his confrontation with Dabi. To which our half and half boy responds with a bit of a teary eye that it doesn't matter. He has to fulfill his duty as a hero, which causes Ida to tear up, who is devastated by the fact that someone as kind as his friend Shoto, one of the people who helped him in his darkest hour, has to go through so much inner turmoil. But this depression session is short-lived, as mere moments after this, the two boys receive a transmission from none other than All Might, who informs the duo of the situation with Dabi and his imminent explosion. All Might explains to the duo that while Endeavor can hold off Dabi in a fight, he won't be able to contain the fiery blast with his quirk. So, All Might asks the boys to get to Gunga as fast as possible to save all of the civilians. Shoto, still worried about Midoriya, argues that they should go and intercept All For One. However, All Might tells him not to worry, as All For One is already being covered. All Might then goes on to say a little speech about how it's one thing to be physically strong, but another thing entirely to be mentally strong. And there is no one All Might knows is more mentally strong, thanks to everything he has gone through in the past, than Shoto. So he asks Shoto to not be disheartened and to face his seemingly unstoppable brother one more time for the sake of the people. As right now, the only quirks that can save the people at Gunga Ida are engine and half cold, half hot. Shoto, now inspired but still a bit skeptical of their ability to even get to Gunga, notes that Ida's engines were overheated in the last fight, so there's no way the duo will be able to make it in time. However, Ida quickly points out that thanks to the sudden rainstorm, his engines have cooled faster than normal. And as he places his mask onto Shoto and carries Shoto on his back, he tells his friend to hold on tight, as his power was made for helping hurt children, so he will be the one to help his hurt friend. We are then greeted with a double panel spread of Ida and Todoroki rocketing through the city skyline and even through buildings, as Stain looks on, muttering to himself that now both of these kids are sacrificing everything for the sake of other people. And with this, the story cuts away, this time to All Might, who is standing alone beside his car in a rainy city street, as the narration informs us that Hawks reported in saying that young All For One is stronger and crueler than ever before. But this narration quickly comes to an end as Sugeuchi shouts, "You idiot," through the communicator device at All Might, as All Might states this has always been his fight, as we see in the distance All For One quickly approaching the former #1 hero's position. All Might, now looking on at the approaching All For One, comments how this brings back memories of their past fights. Yet, he can't help but wonder if all this newfound hatred and cruelness is actually due to Shigaraki's influence, hinting that All For One might not have been as feral as he is now in his actual youth. Sugeuchi, in seeing his longtime friend put himself in an essentially unwinnable situation, cries out for Toshi to run away, reminding him that he is quirkless. However, in hearing this, a huge smile lights up All Might's face, as he remembers back to that time that young, courageous, quirkless boy asked him if he could become a hero even without a quirk. And as All For One approaches, smiling with a grin of pure evil as he notices his arch nemesis waiting for a fight, All Might's briefcase and car begin to disassemble, forming what looks like a robotic suit of armor around All Might, as he shouts out his iconic line, "I am here." That's right, it's All Might versus All For One, round 3. And that's it for chapter 386. Let me know what you thought of this chapter. If you liked this video, don't forget to leave a like. For more My Hero content, subscribe to the Lunchtime crew. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Plus Ultra.